Hey, welcome to Blue Jay Banner. Another edition here on our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. Make sure and hit the subscribe button down below and also the like button to spread this to as many Jays fans as possible. I was looking at our totals the other day, just outstanding since we started this about 9 months ago. We've had so many views and so many subscribes. We're thankful for that, so thank you. Let's keep this growing. We're sponsored by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. West Pacific Dental Group, and also Infusion Brewery. Tim Kruger, Ross Ferrarini, Zach Weaver, our fine producer, joined us today. Well, we got a jam-packed show. In a little bit here, we're going to have play-by-play voice of the Creighton Blue Jays, John Bishop, join us. We haven't had John on in, golly, I want to say at least a year probably. We're going to have John on. We're going to talk a little baseball, the baseball team. After we had our last show 2 weeks ago, the baseball team is suddenly tanking. They've lost 6 Big East games in a row, are in real danger of missing the Big East tournament now. They've got to pull off some miracles. I think miracles. Although there was a tweet just put out a little while ago saying, "Oh, Creighton's way in the driver's seat to still make the tournament." And I'm thinking, how can you say that? The way they've been playing, and B, they're playing UConn, the number 1 team in the conference, and Georgetown is playing Villanova. My God, I mean, they're only a half game behind Creighton. I mean, Creighton's got to win a game or two, which they haven't shown they've been able to do lately. So we're going to talk to John about that. John will be covering all the games this weekend on 1180, Zone 2, The Deuce. And so we'll have John Bishop. In fact, we're going to join in a second. And later on, Katherine Lemke, 2-time Big East golf champion, is going to join us. Ross and I will geek out with golf talk with somebody who's a great golfer, which is going to be great. But it'll be fun talking with Katherine. She's got a great little bio. We want to talk to her about some of her likes, dislikes, her favorite clubs, all that kind of good stuff. So that'll be interesting as well. But right now we're going to talk to play-by-play voice of the Creighton Blue Jays. And I'm privileged and honored to say he's a friend, John Bishop. Hey, John, how did you like those 27 runs my Twins put up on you?
That's not very funny. I enjoyed Friday. It was so bad this weekend. And by the way, can you hear me okay?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, great. You never know. Zoom on this phone has been a little dicey at times, but I love Friday. It was so bad this weekend because I was busy doing things out in the yard that by the time I got inside, and it's like, oh, time to turn on the Cubs game. Looked at the score, 5-0, 7-0, 8-1. Yeah, I don't think I need to watch this. So I didn't see much of any of Saturday or Sunday. So congratulations.
It's so stupid, though, this game. The Twins haven't – that's more runs than they've scored in 9 games before that. I mean, they can't score. They can't hit. They can't drive runners into scoring position. They're awful. And there's tons of articles about blaming the GMs, like, hey, they're the guys who brought in these guys. All they do is swing for the fences, and then they scored 27 runs. It's just, it makes no sense.
And the crazy thing is that's where the Cubs are strongest, and just starting pitching. And starting pitching kind of failed them on Saturday and Sunday. So, oh well.
Hey, speaking of the MLB
we're
talk,
both in terrible divisions, so it doesn't matter. We can be 2 games under 500. We're still deep in the race.
Yeah, and speaking of divisions, so we can swing this to Creighton, Darren Ruff signing with the Brewers.
Well, sad for me as a selfish person who can't stand Milwaukee, but very happy for Darren. I mean, the way he's been able to continue to prolong his career, I thought, what he did in San Francisco was awesome. It was unfortunate that, it didn't work out with the Mets. But, selfishly, I hope the Brewers don't do well, but I hope Darren does really well. I'm just really proud of Darren. He's been one of the best ambassadors for Creighton baseball that we've had in the major leagues in a long time. Pat Venditti was in the league for a while. But it's great to see that Darren is still cooking.
Darren, hey, did you know
Darren's
this?
An all-time guy.
Did you know this? Speaking of Pat Venditti, that our second guest today's father signed him? Our second guest today, Katherine Lemke. That's amazing when I read that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we had her on a podcast a few weeks ago and found out that, her dad was the one who helped sign Patrick. So that was you talk about a small world. That's pretty.
Jabba Chamberlain too.
Yeah, they had a pretty good run there signing local products there for a little bit.
No kidding. Well, speaking of baseball and speaking of not so good runs, my God, the baseball team, when it looked like a cinch to make the Big East tournament, it's now in some real trouble.
Yeah, now that said, the way the schedule breaks out, I still think it's north of a 50-50 chance that Creightons will make the tournament because Georgetown, the advantage is Georgetown didn't play their full series against St. John's, so the tiebreaker is off the board, which is good for Creightons because the Jays lost 2 out of 3 to Georgetown, and Georgetown's got to close out against Xavier, and of course we saw how good Xavier was a couple of weeks ago. So in order for Creightons to not make the tournament, and I'm not really factoring in Villanova and Seton Hall, or Villanova at this point, but even if Creightons gets swept, which a lot of people would expect will happen, George to try to get at least one at Xavier, and I don't know if that's going to be possible. Xavier playing for a at-large spot, really good team. I was really impressed. Not just with their hitting, I was really impressed with their starting pitchers. Their top 2 starters were really good. Problem is their bullpen's not particularly deep, but I still think Creightons got a north of a 50% chance to get in. But, man, I can't imagine what Ohio's going to be like if Creightons goes into this on what would it be, an 8-game, 9-game conference losing streak into the tournament. If they don't win a game this weekend against UConn, it's been a rough last couple of weeks, which is what you were kind of afraid of staring down the barrel of this schedule because of how good Xavier was. I am a little surprised that Creightons didn't get at least one out of Seton Hall, and then of course UConn, who
roll
top 10.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm just worried about Georgetown because they can hit the ball. They can hit with Xavier. That's the only thing that concerns me.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, it's going to come down to pitching. I don't see him getting past either of those top 2 starters. Now Sunday's overall, I guess it'd be Saturday. The third game of the series is always a little bit of a crapshoot, but again, it's not a great position that you're in, to be in first place 2 weeks ago and now staring down the barrel of not making the tournament at all. It's been a really weird year. When you look at how this team has been, they win the series from Nebraska, and I know Nebraska's not great, but theoretically they've got better talent than Creightons does. You take a game from Coastal Carolina, you go through that stretch where you were hitting the ball really well, and then you run into Xavier, and all of a sudden the wheels have come off the wagon. It's been an odd year, and it's certainly a frustrating way to end it. You hope that they can get back some of the momentum, at least a little bit of it, tomorrow afternoon when they play Omaha in the final game of that series. But, man, trying to get back any kind of momentum whatsoever against UConn, that is a tall ask with the caliber of players that they have.
I was talking with Ed a few weeks ago, and he was talking a little more big picture, and I just would love to get your thoughts on it too. You can tell Ed's kind of worried about the way this is going long term, with NIL, with, in baseball, Creightons a team where everybody's going to poach their best players, not unlike basketball where we can poach other teams' best players. That said, on the flip side of that, I look and I go, well, UConn and Xavier somehow keep it done. Now, Xavier's a little bit, I don't say a southern team, but they're certainly not a northern team, but UConn is. And yet they seem to be able to get talent, develop talent. What do you see happening?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to be innovative when it comes to recruiting. You look at Xavier, and sometimes it's a little bit of luck too. The fortunate thing with Xavier is they're an old team. I mean, there are a lot of guys that have been there for a while. And then they picked up the McCormick kid, who's their first baseman, who had basically quit the game. He was done. And then their head coach, Billy O'Connor, finds out that, hey, he's wanting to get back in the game. And you end up picking up a first baseman off the waiver wire, essentially, who's a 300-plus hitter and is just raking home runs left and right and hit the longest home run I've ever seen hit at Charles Schwab Field. I think there's still room, even in an NIL world. Listen, the best players have already been going to the Southern schools. The key is not to lose your best players after you've developed them. And I still think, you're playing in the Big East. It's a conference that it can be winnable, but you got to be a little more innovative when it comes to, being able to find those players, develop them, use the portal to your advantage, and go from there. NIL, it's always going to be tough to compete. It was tough to compete before NIL. It's going to be tough to compete after NIL. And the thing is with baseball, you're not going to have a lot of schools, at least I don't think, unless you got, some sugar daddy out there who's, really wanting to fund a baseball program. Most of those schools, the NIL money is going to their money sports. It's going to football. It's going to basketball. With baseball, I can't see a lot of NIL, especially when you have major league or minor league options out there where you can get paid and go pro. So while NIL certainly can and will have an impact on baseball, I don't think it's as pronounced just because the dollars for most of the schools isn't going to be there. So you're still going to be fighting a lot of the same stuff you've always fought as a Northern program, and that is funding for the overall program, facilities, not that Creightons has to worry about that so much, and just the access to talent. So I hope that, you use this as an opportunity to try to get better, to be able to use the portal. And remember, baseball has been a sport where transfers have been happening left and right anyway. And it was a lot easier to transfer in a sport like baseball than it was in basketball or football. So I don't know if the transfer portal necessarily affects baseball as much as it has football and basketball, where it's turned everything into a free agent market. But you still have to be able to abide by it, and you still have to be able to recruit around it and to it. And hopefully, you don't lose sight of that as with a program like Creightons, who still has a lot of things that it can recruit to.
JB, it's Ross. It's great to chat with you again. I don't mean to one-up you guys on the MLB talk from earlier, but I was lucky enough to be at the Yankee-Rays game this past Saturday at Yankee Stadium, which was a phenomenal baseball game. The Yankees were down 6-0, stormed back, won 9-8, 2 Aaron Judge homers. So I think I've set the bar high on my MLB attendance for the rest of the year, to say the least. But
you saw the best team in the sport, and you saw Aaron Judge. Yeah, I think you got us both beat.
Yeah. But in any event, just breaking down, because we haven't spoken to you since the hoop season started, and I'm kind of curious on your ending thoughts. Obviously there could be a million different questions we could ask about Creightons hoops right now, given everything that's gone on in the past 3-4 months. But I just kind of wanted to gather your ending thoughts on the season, because it was kind of simultaneously this unbelievable banner year for Creightons hoops that ends in Elite Eight berth, but also, there's also almost a little bit of a slice that says this maybe a disappointing end, because you looked around and we were all saying to ourselves, "Oh my God, we should be playing for the national title game." So I'm kind of curious how you balance those two, and kind of what your ending thoughts were on the season.
Ross, it was so weird, because never before had we seen these types of expectations. I mean, we pushed them a little bit with Doug's senior year, and certainly, the beginning of the 16 season before Maurice Watson got hurt, there were some pretty lofty expectations. But, in terms of just everything at the very beginning of the year, it was like, oh yeah, this is the best team in the conference, no doubt. You're talking top 6 odds to make the Final Four. at the beginning of the year. And so everything started so high. And then for that losing streak to happen, you lose to Nebraska, which is always painful if you're a Creighton fan. And it feels like, oh my God, not only is this team not going to meet the expectations, they might not even make the tournament. I mean, there was that kind of feeling you had, when you got to, the middle end of December. And then for it to kind of turn around, you get on a little bit of a run. And then once you get on a run, then the second Marquette game happens. And I thought, oh, crap, here we go again. Marquette found another way. It's another one of those deflating losses. Then you get to the conference tournament. You blow out Villanova, absolutely owned Villanova a week after they took you to school. And you felt good again. Then the Xavier game happened. It was such a roller coaster this year. But the thing about it is, and let's face it, with any sport, it's about how you finish. And at the end of the day, just based on the experience and what took place in Denver, and then to see and to feel, I wish you guys and you could have been in that lobby. In Louisville. Yeah. After winning that game against Princeton, and you walk into that lobby and to see the tears and the emotion and everybody was like, oh my God, we're in the Elite Eight. And then you realize, hey, we're 40 minutes away from the Final Four against a team that we beat last year to get, to move on in the NCAA tournament. And those are memories I won't take away. So even though you had some pretty low lows, at the end, I'm still going to walk away feeling like it was a really high at the end, despite what happened in the last game. And, quite frankly, San Diego State, they acquitted themselves. It's not like, Creighton lost to a bad team.
Right.
And even though the way it ended was very frustrating, I still came away feeling hopeful. I still came away going, yeah, at the end of the day, if you would have told me that all this had happened and said, you can take this season, sign on the dotted line, I still would have signed on the dotted line. There's something about the journey and the weird up and down way it got there that made it worthwhile in the end.
Great answer.
Yeah, I think it's something to look forward to in the future. We get all caught up in these matchups and these brackets and, oh my God, look at this path. You remember our path was horrible. Like it was a horrible path. And it just shows you if you can get that one game, if you can get Baylor, then, a couple upsets happen and it opens wide up. And you got to remember that going into the tournament as a fan, like, hey, you need to concentrate less on what could happen 2 games from now and just take each game at a time. And I think that's something that this team did very well all season, really.
Well, and this was the thing, Tim. I mean, the path had opened up in 17-18 when Virginia gets knocked out. Now, granted, that game happened after we had lost to Kansas State, but the path would have been there for that team, but they couldn't get past that first game. And that was the other thing about the team too, is they had to blend it a little bit. It wasn't quite as offensively gifted as we thought they were going to be. Certainly they showed flashes of it, but they had to blend in some of the things that they did from the prior year where you had to D up. And I thought, the way they defended against, Baylor for the most part against those 3 really good guards was like, man, there's something here. And I thought that was another part of it that made it so enjoyable was, yeah, it didn't go the way we had thought it was. And this team wasn't quite as offensively as good as we thought it would be. The bench certainly didn't contribute as much as we thought they would, but somehow they found ways. And that's what programs do when they've kind of crossed that threshold of being, well, are they just, are they good or are they better than that? And I think Creighton proved that they were better than just good because of the way that they've had to adjust the last 2 seasons. And now you're starting to see, that pay off with deeper runs in the tournament.
All right, we'll let you get you out of here in this one. So kind of a 2-part question. 1, how Shockery that Nemhart left. Number 2, Even with the additions, even with Nemhart leaving, and everybody kind of knew Arthur was gone from the get-go. If Kalk and Trey come back, I'm of the ilk that thinks that this team could even be better than last year's. What's your thoughts on both those?
Well, I, like everyone else, I was really shocked that R2 left. And maybe I shouldn't be anymore, given, the nature of sports and the nature of college sports and the transfer portal, and it makes it so easy. And there was a great story today on The Athletic about, and it was about football, but it could certainly apply to basketball, about, tampering and, coaches going after other players. I guess if there's one thing I've learned out of all this is don't be shocked by anything anymore. But in the moment, it was so shocking because I look at how the relationships were, and the thing that you have the advantage of when you get to travel and be around these guys is to see how everyone interacts. And there didn't appear to be anything in the moment that, gave me any pause that, there was that kind of disharmony. But and not that there necessarily had to be disharmony than ever because of the transfer portal, and you don't have to sit out, and NIL could certainly be better, that all of a sudden, the grass might seem or look greener on the other side. So I guess if there's a takeaway from that is I won't be surprised by, or at least I'll try not to be surprised by anything anymore, but I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't shocked, because I was. And on next year's team, yeah, I mean, I love what Ashworth brings to the floor. It's going to be different. It's going to be different from what Nemhard did. But I love that possibility. Certainly Kalkbrenner, I can't only imagine how much better he has gotten since his freshman year, and another step up, especially motivated, knowing, assuming what kind of feedback he gets from the NBA, that he's going to want to work on and try to strive to get better. Trey Alexander, same thing with him, though. Seeing some of the numbers that he put up today at the combine makes me wonder a little bit. I like I said, I'm going to reserve the right to not be surprised by anything. It would not shock me if either one of them stayed in, but hopefully they don't. Year, the potential is certainly there to be every bit as good. Now, the other thing is, we won't be shocked by how good this conference is. If there's one thing I'd kick myself about from last year is I'm kicking myself not thinking Marquette wasn't going to be, maybe not as good as they ended up being, but not being a threat. And the same thing with UConn. We won't fall for that again, but the league's going to be a bear next season. And so hopefully if everyone is back, it'll definitely be a battle-tested team. And as we found out this past season, you don't have to win the league to go deep in this tournament. And as the Jays showed, they were battle-tested by what they faced, and they'll be battle-tested next year. I just hope everyone's around to enjoy it.
Well, Ross has picked Villanova to win the Big East.
That's my hot take.
Who to pick yet, but I know it's this. I know this. There's about 4 or 5 teams that I wouldn't feel terrible if I had them in a pool.
John, thanks a million. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Really, yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and that everything stayed connected my whole way home.
You did. All right. Thanks, John.
You bet. Thanks, guys. Great to talk to you both again. Thanks,
John
Ross.
Bishop. Just the best. Yeah, Ross, did you see any of the transfer stuff the combine stuff today?
You know what? I saw a couple of random tweets, but I didn't really dive into them. It sounded like Trey performed well in something.
Well, I watched none of it, to be honest with you. I saw a little bit of a highlight package of Trey, and what I saw was, Zach said he had a great pass. I didn't see like the numbers and all that. He airballed a wide open 3. Didn't look very good. That's one shot. He had a little shooting drill I saw. He was knocking them all down. But again, they were 15-foot jumpers, which is his cup of tea, and there was nobody guarding him. So, I mean, how much can you take from that? I mean, the scouts, I'm sure, have already seen it. I'm sure with so many guys in this combine, and you can tell me way more than me because A, I don't watch NBA, and B, I don't care. There's way more guys in this combine that are going to get drafted. So I'm sure there's some guys they run everything through and run them through the drills just like anybody. But the second the drill starts, they know this guy's not probably going to be a serious candidate to be drafted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think at this point, a lot of it is pretty baked in. I mean, I think, kind of to what you're saying, there's somebody like a Trey, I think, especially once they do the 5-on-5 stuff, would really, really have to wow some people. And that's not to say that, teams can't get excited about his potential just from the shooting drills and some of the other drills that they do and the athleticism stuff that they test. But I think the 5-on-5 is where somebody like a Kalk or a Trey would really potentially stand out as far as maybe, really jumping off the page to NBA guys. It's going to be interesting. I didn't really see how is Arthur done.
I didn't see anything about that. I saw a clip of Kalk doing a standstill jump, which isn't Kalk's forte,
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, that's probably not gonna,
And so this is confirmed. Arthur, even if he doesn't hear what he wants to hear,
he's going elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, that was known. That's been known for months. I mean,
right.
You could see there were times this year he wasn't happy with, even though he kept it inside and didn't make an issue out of it and hurt the team chemistry. You could tell He wasn't happy. He felt he should be used differently. Now, how much of that actually affected him on the floor? Because there was games where he just, I don't want to say disappeared, but he certainly wasn't as engaged as you wanted to. I think we had a conversation with one of the coaches on one of our post-game shows when we said, hey, what's going on with Art? And they go, we really don't know, but we got to have him,
Yeah.
So you don't know how much of that entered into it and so forth. And, you hear all kinds of rumors about, him and Nemhard both being a little bit unhappy. I don't know with what, but at any rate, the handwriting was on the wall for Art right off the get-go when we, brought in Trout. And by the way, I saw a video of him about a week ago working out. Oh, man, he looked great. He looks great. He is, he's a big body. He's not.
Yeah, he's a big.
He's not a skinny 6'10" guy. He's built and
still has. I don't know that Trout was necessarily writing on the wall for Art. Arthur would absolutely be a starter and play starters minutes over Isaac Trout, unless Isaac Trout clearly showed some sort of, one and done type of ability. Arthur has been a pretty big part of what the program's done the past couple of years. I don't really fully understand. I just typed his name into the Twitter search bar to see what the combines had to say about him. It's not much there, just a couple.
Well, my point though with Trout was you're not going to bring Trout in to have him sit on the bench.
Sure.
Yeah. So the staff basically had moved on at that point, And I know I talked to staff members last year. There was a real battle last year to keep him here. And I think,
Listen, the NIL, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but the NIL stuff combined with the transfer portal has just thrown, this lethal combination together of free agency now. And it doesn't matter if a kid's been successful. It doesn't matter if he's played a ton of minutes. These kids' parents are much more involved. These Gen Z parents are much more involved than parents ever used to be. It's just a different game. It is what it is. I think everybody's kind of just realizing it and accepting it at this point. I just saw that the Kansas big off the bench committed to Patino today.
Yeah.
Sounds like Patino's really getting busy in the portal.
He loaded up, man. Holy cow. Everybody left, and he just went out and just got all new players. It's just like free agency. Seriously.
I mean, the Big East has got a chance. I mean, this offseason, you can make an argument. This offseason, the Big East has been the most entertaining conference, to follow in the offseason. I mean, it's got a chance to really be an explosively fun season, just with all the different moving pieces and different guys that are around the league. So it's shaping up to be fun. Long ways away, obviously.
Well, I know, but you got to think about teams like DePaul, who kind of I thought was starting to build a little bit under the new coach, and now I don't follow what they do, but they haven't made much of a splash. Butler has brought some guys in, but they haven't made much of a splash. I mean, with everybody moving so hard on this deal, man, right. You look at some of those teams and you're like, wow, there's going to be a big gap at the bottom if you're not, another team, Seton Hall, I don't think has really brought in a lot of quality guys either. So,
yeah, I'm trying to see who has DePaul brought in here. Let's go. I'm looking it up.
I can't tell you how much I'm impressed with you, Ross, when you said Strus was going to play in the NBA. You called that. So far ago.
I appreciate that, Tim. Having said that, I have gotten an enormous amount of guys wrong on that too. I also said I thought Marcus Foster would play in the NBA. So
well, so did I.
You're gonna whiff on some, and you're gonna get some right. But Strus has been fantastic for the Heat. I mean, yeah, he really has been really very, very good for them. Which, how about this, by the way? How about this? We were talking about this. I was talking about this with Grant Gibbs last week. DePaul, in the NBA playoffs, the conference semifinals, so at this point you only got 8 teams left. Okay? Sure. DePaul had 2 guys that were playing significant minutes between Max Strus and then Paul Reed for the Philadelphia 76ers. And for whatever reason, they just can't get out of the cellar of our league. But those are 2 guys within a few year time frame of one another played at DePaul.
And they have more current active NBA players than Creighton.
Crazy.
Well, I mean, that's what I said that one week where I did watch a lot of NBA. I'm like, I watched those games. I didn't know 3/4 of those guys. Like, who the hell are these guys? And it'd be like, oh, this guy played at Western Kentucky. And I'm like, and who knew? It's like crazy. So it's so different, more different than football. Now there are very good college football players, that don't make it, like the Georgia quarterback. He's not gonna make it in the NFL most likely. Okay.
Yeah.
You have good running backs in college that don't make it, even get a sniff in the NFL. Okay.
Yeah.
Generally, the good receivers, those are guys that go. Generally, the better offensive linemen and pass rushers, those guys make it big. They're good in college. They make it big, but it's just so much different than the NFL, where there's just total, I don't want to say no names, but certainly guys that you wouldn't think would be, it was different with John Morant. John Morant was talked about all year long the last year of college. I mean, it was nonstop. So that was a different player. There's players like that, but there's always guys. I remember going way back. I think it started before, back when I was following Minnesota, because I'm from Minnesota. Jim Peterson was a guy that played the 4 at Minnesota. He was terrible. He was terrible at Minnesota. I'll just say it. He was a Minnesota kid. He kind of fit their big mold. Actually, Dutcher's dad was the coach.
Right.
And I'm like, what? This guy's going to the NBA? He was starting in the NBA next year, because that's what they were looking for. They were looking for some, it was in the era of Rambus and Ivoroni and those guys. And so Peterson fit that mold of the enforcer at that spot, and that's what the NBA was looking for, So
I'm looking at St. John's. St. John's has got some they've got some guys, all right? So they got Zuby, Ejiofor. I don't know how to pronounce the last name. The kid from the backup big from Kansas, who's a big, strong kid. Got him today. Jordan Dingle, the stud point guard from Penn, one of the best players in the Ivy League. They got him, I think, last week or the week before. They got Aleni, however he pronounces his last name, Naheem Aleni.
From UConn, right?
The kid from UConn, okay. Denise Jenkins, who was one of Patino's best players at Iona, he came over. Glenn Taylor Jr. came over from Oregon State. He's a very, very good player, albeit on a very bad Oregon State team, but he was a kid that put up numbers in the Pac-12. So he brought in some kid. He brought in two kids. He brought in two other kids, Quinn Slaziski and Cruz Davis. So he brought three guys from his Iona team over to St. John's. So
three guys from Iona, really? I didn't realize that.
He's got some interesting pieces. It's gonna be fascinating to see what he kind of does with them. DePaul, it looks like, had 4 transfer commits. The only name I really recognize is the kid from Elijah Fisher from Texas Tech came over. They snagged another kid from Minnesota, Jaden Henley, Jeremiah Odin from Wyoming, and this Chico Carter from South Carolina. So,
well, they didn't get the cream of the crop from Wyoming, that's for sure.
No.
Wow, but then, obviously he's just trying to go out and get the best athletes and basketball players he can and just hope like hell he can mold them into something,
Right.
That's the one thing you would worry about, obviously, if you brought in that many guys.
Then you look at a school like Villanova, they only bring in 2 guys, but they're 2 big-time players in TJ Bamba and Hakeem Hart from Washington State and Maryland, respectively. I mean, those are guys that have put up numbers in college basketball and are very well thought of and can really play.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, the Big East is going to be, you think about the top teams, even Xavier. I mean, they've got some guys back, but even I don't think they signed as many impressive players as I thought maybe they would with Sean there. But you're still going to have to count them in, right? So you got Marquette, Xavier, UConn, Villanova, St. John's, and Georgetown probably is, just rattling off 6 right off the bat.
Oh God, I forgot about Posh Alexander going to Butler.
Yeah, that's an interesting move.
God, they lost a lot of. Chuck Harris transferred to SMU. Jaden Taylor transferred to NC State. The Miles Tate, he transferred to Appalachian State. Simon Lukosius transferred to Cincinnati. So they lost kind of their top, all of their main guards transferred.
What? There's got to be something going on that all those guys left.
And the Ali kid who came off the bench, he transferred to Akron.
I thought had some nice pieces to build on if they could have added a bunch. You know what I mean? But maybe he didn't like the chemistry or something. I don't know. That's Mata, so God, Lukosius, I'll be glad to see him leave. Jeez.
He can play.
That dude can play, man. And to go to Cincinnati. Whew. All right. Hey, good time to mention our sponsor, Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. They're the Bank of Blue Jay Banner. Check them out today. Proudly serving Nebraska since 1882. They got 2 great locations, one out in Elkhorn and then one here just north of the TD Ameritrade headquarters. Complete line of banking services, especially like car and house loans right now. Real volatile. Check them out for the best rates. And obviously, great place to have a checking account because they give you such fabulous service. So that's Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. West Pacific Dental Group. He's my dentist, Dr. Robert Hogan. A fabulous sponsor of our golf tournament too, by the way, segueing into Katherine Lemke's expected appearance here. Great place to go for all your dental needs. Check them out, West Pacific Dental Group. And then also Infusion Brewing Company, been a sponsor for us this year. They've been fabulous. They are the makers, of course, of the Let It Fly beer, among other great products. We're hoping to do some more things with them as the summer rolls along, maybe do some remotes down there. So we're looking forward to that. So check out Infusion Brewery as well. You can get all their products at their tasting store over Papillion, and then also a great line of their products at the Crescent Moon. Great place to go and eat and drink some infusion beer. What else has gone on in hoops in the last couple of weeks? Let's see. We nearly lost Huggy Bear, but we kept him around.
What a weird deal that was. I was kind of, when I listened to the audio of that, it didn't really sound like him. So there for that whole day where that was kind of in making the rounds, I thought maybe is this one of those like AI deep fake type videos that someone made, but then sure enough it wasn't. It was actually him. I mean, what a just an idiotic thing for him to be saying. You got to wonder if he was drinking or something when he went on that radio show, but obviously that doesn't excuse it. Just a ridiculous thing to be saying on a radio show, but he I'm a little bit surprised he didn't get canned. But then again, I'm not, because he's got a pretty big resume, and he's been in the sport for quite a long time. But at the same time, they really haven't done much for a few years now.
Yeah, they've been kind of disappointing. I'm interested with Kiersa there. I'm interested what's going to happen. I'm interested to see him play in the Big 12 and on that team. It just seemed an odd fit to me, but I'm interested to see how that all pans out. I know he went pretty hard in the transfer market this year, so
that
Big 12 is going to be a different league too.
Right, you bring in Houston and UCF and BYU, and who's the fourth?
God, the travel they're going to have! Holy crap! Cincinnati, wasn't it?
Cincinnati, that's right. Yeah.
Oh. I'd like to see them get back to their traditional. Yeah, and there's a great Huggy going back to Cincinnati. How great would that be?
No, I don't know that we've talked about Jonathan Lawson on the show, have we?
Oh, good call, Zach.
I thought we had, but apparently not. Okay.
No, because we didn't go last week, and I don't think we have had an opportunity. I don't know much about his game, just outside of the name. I know he came off the bench. I remember him the couple of times I watched Memphis coming off the bench, but Memphis kind of had their two main guys, the guard, who's really good, whose name I'm blanking on. But yeah, I don't know what else you know about him or that whole deal, Tim.
Well, I guess you're right. I'm thinking that we had talked about him, but it was kind of like he was number one going to Creighton the whole time. So we were kind of like the team that was favored to get him. So I was like thinking it was a done deal, maybe a week before it actually was announced. I think he's going to be a really, really good player, really athletic, and really shoot the basketball too, which is something, we were hoping out of Farabella last year. And so just another wing guy that we can bring in. And I think it's the perfect fit for what Creighton wants, provided like Trey comes back. Okay. So we don't have room, for somebody to come right in and start, but certainly he could earn those minutes, but he's a perfect guy to have coming off the bench, spot us 10, 15, 20 minutes a game and give these guys a little bit of a break. I don't know, Ross, how you feel. A lot of people are like really concerned, like, well, we've got to have a bench. These guys played too many minutes last year. I never really noticed them if you look back at the games, there was no game, you can't point to it and say, well, they never played well in the last 4 minutes of the games, and that's why they lost these games. I never saw.
Yeah. You're right. Do we probably play our starters on average more than a lot of other teams? Yeah, probably. But it's not like it's unbelievably drastic where we just don't even play bench guys and get zero production. If you really look around, the landscape of college basketball, most of these programs, even the really top tier ones, most of these programs don't just have these absolute studs coming off the bench that are giving you 15 points a game off the bench. That's pretty few and far between.
Yeah. And I never, like I said, I never saw, I guess the average fan is upset because when Farabelle came in, we dropped off in some production, there aren't a lot of teams, and the team that comes to mind quickly is San Diego State, where they had kind of interchangeable parts.
Yeah.
They could come with guys off the bench and really not lose a whole lot. But then you maybe think that maybe their starters weren't as high level as ours either. So, I don't know. I've never really thought it was a big deal. To me, the most important player on the two most important players on the team are the point guard and the center as far as injury, foul trouble. We have really adequate backup. So we did last year, okay?
Right.
Point guard this year we can slide Trey over easily to play point. We can also, I don't know what the status of Dolzer is going to be, if he's ready or not, but we have another guy in the wings as well. So to me, that's what you need, right? I mean, you've got two guys at the 4. You could even if you had to have a third big man, you could slide, we've got a guy that maybe will redshirt and so forth. So I'm not that concerned with it. But what I am really excited about is talking to our next guest, Katherine Lemke, 2-time Big East champion golfer, never been done before in Creightons history. I don't have a problem here, but we'll get her on. There she is. And just completed the regionals. And
hi,
she is joining us right now. Hi, Katherine.
Hi. How are you?
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the little time delay. That's my bad.
Yeah, no worries. Were you out practicing?
No, I was just talking to my mom.
Okay. Well, hey, Ross and I are golf geeks, so you're probably going to get a lot of questions you don't get on normal interviews. I'm just letting you know.
Okay, sounds good.
So, when you came to Creightons, did you have any expectations of how you would do and how you would play golf at this level?
Well, I made it my goal to win a Big East championship with the team or individually, but I never expected it would happen so quickly. So I was surprised with myself kind of last year, but I knew I'd been working hard to get to that point. So I had an expectation to get there eventually.
Yeah. So I was reading a lot about you, and you when I watch, I've seen your swing quite often on videos and so forth. And when I look at your swing, I think, wow, she looks like a terrific iron player. But when I see you say your driver is your most dependable club. So talk a little bit about the two.
Yeah. I like to say my driver is my most dependable club just because it's most fun to hit. I'd say tee to green, that is my strong suit. I'm a pretty good iron player. I hit a lot of greens. If I get myself into tight situations, I am usually able to find my way out of it, just being athletic and being able to manipulate the club a little bit. And then kind of where I know I need to improve is around the greens and with the putter, especially. So scoring wise, I get myself into good positions with the irons, but I like to hit the driver the most.
You made it, but you make a fair amount of birdies, I think, in the last round. How many did you have in the last round in the regionals?
I had 6.
Yeah, well, okay. That's a third of the holes. So
yeah.
you got to be rolling the rock pretty good to make 6 birdies.
Yeah, I've also been putting the ball a lot closer to the hole with my short irons and wedges, so that helps.
Yeah, well, it does. It does. It takes a little stress off the game. Now, coming into college, obviously, especially when you get into the regionals, you're going to play little courses that are a little longer. How do you rank in length compared to say your other teammates and the other players you play against? My assumption is your iron play really is so good, and you can get the ball, like you were saying, get the ball close, that you're going to make enough birdies, and your driver is going to keep you out of trouble. Are you hitting the ball average or longer than average with the other players you're playing against?
I'm pretty long compared to a lot of the girls you'll see in Division I golf. When you get up to like regionals, I probably fall more into like the average to long range. But with my team and in a lot of the events we play, I'm usually long.
Well, how the heck do you hit it so far? That's what I want to know.
Well, I was a soccer player before I was a golfer. So I like to pride myself on being an athlete first and a golfer second. So I'm big into the weight room, and I have a lot of strength just from being a soccer player in high school and, working out that way. So that's kind of where I generate a lot of club speed and strength.
Katherine, who are some of your, some of your, favorite golfers that you look up to, whether it be on, the LPGA or you're even on the men's side, or who are some of those men's or women's golfers that you really just enjoy watching their games and would love to kind of model your game after in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, well, the first one that always comes to mind is Phil. As a fellow lefty, Phil's like my favorite golfer ever. He also has a really awesome short game, as I'm sure you guys know. So
yep.
If I could develop a short game like his, I feel like it just changed the way that I can score on a golf course. On the women's side, I think Nelly Korda's really cool. Obviously, she's like a dominant female athlete, but her whole family's got like a tradition of excellence. Jessica's also cool to follow, but Nelly's she's also like an all-around athlete. She's not just a golfer, and I think that's a really cool aspect of her game. And she's strong and she hits the ball a long way, which is fun to watch on the women's side.
I'm so stupid. I watched both the Kordas forever. I had no idea their father was Peter Korda until a couple of years ago, like the famous tennis player. So I can see where they got their genes for athletes in their family. My gosh. Speaking of genes in your family, so we were just talking with John Bishop, our play-by-play voice of baseball and basketball. Your dad signed Pat Vendetti and Jabba Chamberlain from Nebraska. How cool is that?
Yeah, he also signed Eric Wardekemper, who was a pitching coach at Creightons.
I know Eric.
So yeah, it is cool. It's been disappointing to watch the Yankees season so far this year, but we're hoping they pick it up a little bit.
Guess what? Ross was just there.
Oh, really?
Just saw the game the other day with the Devil Rays when they came from behind.
Oh, okay, nice. That had to be fun. At least they had offensive production, right?
Fun stadium.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's cool. And my brother's actually a baseball player, so it's been really cool for him to get to, talk to some of the guys that my dad's like scouted and recruited and kind of know how baseball works and how that whole process works. And my dad just has insight into college sports and stuff like that in general too, which has been neat to kind of hear about.
So Katherine, when did you start getting really serious with golf? And you mentioned, you were a soccer player as well. I don't know if you played anything else in high school, but when did you start to really get serious with golf and say to yourself, all right, I'm pretty darn good at this and I want to keep going?
Well, that's kind of a tough one. So I played competitively, or really started taking lessons for the first time the summer after my 8th grade year. And then I kind of realized freshman year of high school that I could be good at it. So I dropped basketball and played golf over the winter. But I didn't really focus on golf and just golf until after my sophomore year of high school. I really wanted to play college soccer. And then I said, you know what? I actually love golf more. So we're going to put all my eggs in the golf basket and see what happens.
Okay, so on your bio on Go Creighton, you got some interesting stuff here. So some were kind of crossing paths, you and I. Okay, first of all, Mike Ditka, your favorite athlete, right? So have you been to Ditka's before?
Oh, of course.
I have too. Very nice. Very nice place.
Yes.
Nice. Number 2, I got to talk to you about this.
Oh boy.
So number 14 at Coeur d'Alene.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived out in that part of the country, and I have never played the course, but I used to drive out to Seattle quite a bit. So when you drive on the interstate, you look right over the 14th green, which is really cool. Now, for people who don't know, the green sits out in Lake Coeur d'Alene, just out, and you take a little boat out there, right, after you tee off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then somebody told me, do they give you a plaque if you hit the green or something, a little something?
Yeah. So, yeah, if you make a par or a birdie card, hole 14 at Coeur d'Alene, and it gives a date and everything.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you like the rest of the course? Because I heard the rest of the course is okay. Not great, but okay.
Oh, see, I disagree. I thought that there were a lot of holes on that golf course that would be a signature hole at any other place, but since it was Coeur d'Alene and they had hole 14, there was just no other option. It's a tough golf course. It's kind of narrow, and there are some holes where, like, if you're not in the fairway, it's going to be a long hole for you. But I thought it was like a good course, especially all the holes along the water. It's like 13, 14, and then a couple on the front too, like 4 through 6 or something like that are really cool.
So you gotta love how the ball flies out there, huh?
Yeah. Yes.
I was just telling one of my friends who's an excellent, he's a scratch golfer. He's won everything in the state of Nebraska. I was just saying, no, you got to come with me out to Jackson Hole. You hit a drive and it just seems like it's not going to come down. It just goes forever. Like, I think I was hitting like my wedge 20 yards further out there than, it just, yeah. So speaking of golf courses, so what are some of the famous or best golf courses you played?
Well, PGA National is probably one of the most famous. Now we can add that one to the list.
I played
Valhalla in junior golf.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for the junior PGA, that one was super cool. Super hard with the rough.
18th green. 18th green is interesting, huh?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That big horseshoe.
Yeah, I had my own issues with the 18th green out there. And then I played out at, not on the Paynes Valley Golf Course in Hollister, Missouri. That's the one that like Tiger helped design. Yeah. But I've played Buffalo Ridge, which is kind of an adjacent course. It's really nice, really cool. And then being from Chicagoland, I've played a good amount of courses here. We played a tournament at Merritt Club, and then I've been out to, why am I blanking on the name of the course right now? Medina. And I work at Rich Harvest Farms. So
Medina. Yeah. How did you like that?
I've only played, I think it's course number 3, so not the famous.
Oh, you didn't
course.
Play number 2. Okay.
Yeah. But it's a nice place and a really just a cool setup out there.
Cool clubhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played a couple courses in Chicago. I can't remember the names of them though. But yeah. It's cool. I've always wanted to play like Cog Hill.
Oh yeah, I've never I've played one of the courses out there, but again, not the well-known one. Where
they used to play. They don't play that anymore there though. Where do they play? They play at another farms course out there. Don't they have a PJ stop? Don't they have one of the FedEx Cups there somewhere?
Well, they've got Conway Farms.
Conway Farms. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been out there.
That's it. So what are you going to do this summer? Play a lot of amateur events, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm playing in a lot of golf. I've got a U.S. Open qualifier in 2 weeks out at Belle Reve, so that's going to be fun.
Oh, there's another course to check off.
Yeah, and then I've got, obviously the Illinois AM events, and then I'm playing in a Michigan PGA event later this summer. And then the Western women's, they also have, the Western for the men's amateur. That's a pretty big AM event. And it's actually in Naperville, so it's 30 minutes from my house this year. Which is
nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What they used to play that at Butler, didn't they?
They rotate it every year. So it's last year was at Sunset Ridge, which is an hour from my house in Illinois. And this year I want to say it's at White Eagle. I can't remember exactly which golf course it's at, but it's usually it's always somewhere in the Midwest. It just happened to be in Illinois the last couple of years.
Why don't you play in the Nebraska Amateur and clean up on some of these Nebraska golf?
That's at the beginning of August, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the beginning of August is tough just because with school starting, and usually that's when we like to do like a family vacation if we're going to do anything. So that's why I can't get out there.
So you said you have 2 favorite foods?
Yeah.
Watermelon or pasta? Interesting. 2 foods.
Well, because one's heavy and one's like a lot lighter, so it depends on my mood, you know?
Oh, I got you.
Makes sense.
So 3 in a row next year?
That sounds like a good plan. I don't think anyone's ever won it 3 times, so.
Really?
I'm in.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many people, do you know how many people won it twice in a row?
No one.
So you were the first one ever in the Big East to win it twice in a row?
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Do you just sit there and go, wow, I just can't believe what I did?
A little bit, yeah. Especially after round 1, I was kind of sitting there scratching my head, like, well, I guess top 5 will be nice. So,
but didn't if I remember correctly, in my mind is, my memory's getting bad nowadays. Didn't you roll in a putt on the first year you won? Didn't you roll in a putt on the last hole on the playoff hole?
Yeah, I did. I made like a 20-footer.
Yeah, but you're not a good putter. Yeah, okay, whatever. She's a sandbagger, Ross. She's a sandbagger. All right. Well,
Katherine, last question before we let you go. Who's the best player that you've played with, where you played around with them or you played some holes with them, where you kind of just said, holy crap, this player can really go?
Well, I played with Maria Fossey in a practice round for the U.S. Open last year, so I think she tops the list. She's a pro now, but when she was in college a couple of years ago, she won the Annika Award, and she hit the ball a mile, and like her wedges were just dialed.
Yeah, wow, something to aspire to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know the best player Ross has played with?
Who?
Me, because I've beaten him twice in our little match.
Nice.
In our little match we have. So I just had to rub it in there. Well, we play I belong to Players Club.
Okay.
So I play there, and then he belongs to Field Club. So we alternate. We go back and forth. So.
Okay, nice.
We're at Field Club this year, so he's going to have the home course advantage. So, and I'm just going to want more strokes, I suppose. I hope not.
Nice.
Well, I got to tell you this. So I'm headed to Scotland in the end of August.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Just
That'll be my second
or
time.
to watch?
Well, both.
Okay,
the Walker Cup is there.
Okay.
And my wife happens to be a business associate of the Walker Cup captain.
Okay.
So we're going, and he's got us Walker Cup gear, and he's all excited we're coming. And so, and I'm taking that buddy that's won all that. He's never been there, so we're gonna play Carnoustie in the old course and Kings Barn and hit the whole Rhoda. So I'm looking very much forward to it.
That's gonna be awesome.
Well, are you kidding me?
I've never played golf overseas.
I think we've got the wives talked into going to Pinehurst the year after that, which I played as well. Pinehurst is great. Pinehurst and St. Andrews are very much alike as far as the towns. They're quaint. It's all about golf. It's kind of cool. So yeah, you have to do it. But you're too young. You've got your whole life to do that. You got much bigger fish to fry.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Ross, I think we should get Katherine to be our get her to our ringer in the Blue Banner golf tournament.
That'd be a nice ringer to have.
Yeah, we can work something out. We'll be in touch. Hey, have a great summer. Congratulations.
You too.
It was great talking with you. We're gonna have you on again. You were such a great guest.
All right.
And best of luck to you this summer. We'll be watching.
Yeah, thanks. It was nice to meet you guys.
All right. Thanks, Katherine. Katherine Lemke, 2-time Big East golf champion, soon to be 3. Hey, that wraps it up. by the way, I just talked about the Blue Jay Banter Golf Tournament. Make sure you sign up. Go to bluejaybanter/golf.com. There you will see all the things going on in the golf tournament. There's all the sponsor tiers as well. So go to those as well. And sponsors sign up. They get filled up fast. So start getting your 4-spin. Ross, get your 4-spin there. Come on.
All right.
Let's get going. Let's not be I want you to win the $500 putting contest this year, Ross. Maybe you can slip Zach some money since he, is the referee out there, and he'll let you maybe get an extra shot at it or something.
Yeah, we'll